Hey, collective. I'm just waiting for some people. Oh, somebody popped in. As the title reads, this is a collective message. You are the tower against organized crime. The message I got was about, it was related to a personal situation of mine. If you live in the Norfolk area, know that Virginia or Norfolk proper has the highest rate of evictions, either in the state or in the country. I once lived, before I was evicted from my building, for about 13 months before I stopped paying rent, because I caught my property manager stealing from me. In a package that they took responsibility for, and then confirmed that it had left. Well, that was, I caught them in the lie because I mistakenly, and there are never any mistakes in this sort of situation, I mistakenly put a expired mailing or shipping label on the package. In addition, I never scheduled the FedEx pickup. Well, they lied and said that it left, and it was never delivered. It was a return. I had about $600 worth of stuff in there. And the card that first popped out, no coincidence, is 11th house, Aquarius. And my property manager at 450 Bush Street or Bush Street in Norfolk, Virginia, is a thief. And she either runs she runs this operation where not only do they I think they get vulnerable people in the building and skim money off the rent, or the corporation she works for, which I believe is called, what is the name of the LLC? It'll come to me. Anyway, it's called the Attain Building. And for 13 months while I lived there, paying $1,700 for a one bedroom in this so-called luxury apartment, I always felt ostracized, unwelcome. And I hadn't had one conversation with anyone in that building, all because, Spirit had me go through this sort of blindly, because, had I been aware of it sooner, had I got downloads sooner about it, I probably would have effed it all up. 344, as I say this, meaning that they wouldn't have done enough damage for me to, they wouldn't have incriminated themselves. So in addition to defaming my character with all my neighbors, actually sending people who I think are a part of this organized crime that she perpetrates to me while I'm out in the pool this summer. A couple people befriended me, tried to get me drunk. She would organize socials in the building, which very few people would ever, show up to do the same. The one social that I did show up, the very last one, it was the oddest thing because everybody, I was one of the first to show up, 444, and everybody who came in after were just sus. I'm a high priestess or priest and hierophant and psychic and a Heyoka empath. I was reading their energies the whole time, and I know when people are incredibly judgmental of me or don't trust me. But what I was picking up clearly was this biatch, as part of keeping their victims ostracized from other tenants in the building, they will spread rumors, and that's exactly what she did. Also, a part of the operation is, and I got my internet installed through Cox Cable really early, about a month in, and it took 4 hours for them to connect 555 my internet. And the guy that was sent was also really sus. Like he was overly or unnecessarily apologetic about the delay. And I, again, being a Heyoka empath and psychic, I started getting messages like, oh, they're full on tapping my internet connection. And but I'm new to the building, and I was sort of, early on in the process of really trusting my intuition. And so 644, as I say this, I was doubting myself and the messages that were coming through, but clearly, like right away, um, I got that message that this guy was working with the apartment manager, the property manager, Tamika Clark, and or the business that she works for. Now, I don't know if this was a solo operation on her part, or it was that the company that she works for is also in on it, which may be the case because. Well, I'll get to that part of the story. Once I recognized that the package was stolen and I confronted her, um, but first had 2 conversations with her subordinate. Um, and then when I finally got her in the room, and she had been avoiding me for 2 weeks, even avoiding me on the day that I finally found her. As soon as I walked into the office, like she hightailed it out the way. And then I said, hey, we need to talk about something. She literally stopped in the threshold of the next room, and her whole body language was like facing the exit. She did not want to face me. She's a complete coward, and she knew that she was caught. Um, I don't think they knew that I was a high priest and Heyoka empath and a spiritualist and as strong at detecting bullshit as I am. Um, like I said, I was just building my business and getting into reading cards for you, the collective. Anyway, this channel message is not only for to relay my story to you, but because it's happening, especially in Norfolk. On TikTok about a week ago, uh, there was a lady who was talking about a building in Hampton Roads. I live downtown Norfolk, same area, Tidewater, Hamptons, Ghent. There are all these high-rise luxury apartments who are scamming people. And in this TikToker's particular situation, she was describing the abuse and the theft of one of her neighbors. Um, and the way they get you is, for example, like if you're late on rent, first of all, Attain, formerly Aura downtown, that's the name of the building, uh, which the download I get about that is that they jump from the LLC changes the name because they're going bankrupt. It's post COVID, and COVID fucked up a lot of the hotel industry, and we know that the housing market and the whole rental market is going to crash soon for the better. This is karma for all the organized crime that takes place in these fucking businesses. So yeah, get at me, FBI. I called you. I left messages many times, but or a couple of times. And, I think it's because one of the means of scamming people is a lot of these businesses, these LLCs that run these apartment complex, they will require, they will set up on their website, their resident portal, electronic payment. So this is how they get, your credit card, get access to your accounts. And in my situation, I had just moved to the area. I had enrolled in a school here because in addition to starting my business and my LLC, I was also going to go back to school. So I had enrolled in school. I had a lot on my plate. I was probably doing way too much. I am a Taurus after all, and overworked too much. So when I called and spoke with Lindsay, who no longer works there, I explained to her, I've been looking for an apartment. I'd like something nice where, I can go to school, I can work from home, because I'll have a few online classes and get my business up and running through YouTube and now on my website and all that good stuff. But I was living on withdrawals from my IRA, which, I transferred or I created from, cashing in my 401k. And so, they know that, I had no family in the area. I was new to the area. I was a single dude. I had no job. I was going back to school, but I hadn't yet enrolled. So, I can provide proof that, that's why I was here for. I drove in a nice vehicle, and in order, because I didn't have a job, in order to show that I could pay for this, I handed over a statement of my IRA, which, was well over $100,000. So, that's just like perfect sucker, a vulnerable person and situation that they're in, where an operation like this can completely take advantage. So first card out: community, society, organizations, friends, social circle, giving back, hopes and wishes, group activities, memberships, networking, social consciousness. Now, given the fact that I created the title of this channeled message and pulled out the deck, and you can rewind after the stream is over and see that this was the first card that fell out before I even talked about the fact that this property manager is an Aquarius sun. Well, Lindsay, dear old Lindsay, had to show that statement of my IRA and how much money was in there to Tamika. And Tamika had to approve my moving in based on that proof that I could pay. And then when I applied on their website, and this is where I'm getting to, Aquariuses are known for the internet. I mean, the 11th house is about the internet and electronics, because it's ruled by Uranus. They didn't fucking know that Uranus is in my 6th house, which is all about work. Anyway, and her, being probably well adept at electronics, the message I got was, these thieves, this organized crime that I speak of, if it can happen to me, it may be happening to you all who are watching this or will get this message 1444 as I say this. So, Listen to your neighbors. Do you notice how many late rent notices are on your? This is an indoor apartment complex. So in the 13 months that I was there, oh my gosh, the number of notices from the main office hanging off the doors for either late rent or having filed a writ of eviction was just, and the amount of U-Hauls and trucks moving stuff in and out. I'm like, this is just odd. All the while, I feel like I'm gang stalked, that I'm not welcome. Um, I was, I did end up smoking herbal cigarettes inside the apartment, which, is smoking is against the law. But, I was thinking that smoking was referring to tobacco only. Plus, I was burning sage and incense almost every day, candles and the like. So I didn't think herbal cigarettes, but I didn't really think to, maybe close my windows. And speaking of windows, they placed me on the third floor, and just outside my windows is the courtyard to where the pool is. And so going back to the interface, the electronic interface where they take payment and the apartment application, I applied to ask about vacancies. So I put in all my information, and then halfway through the application, something weird happened that I don't think should have happened. And what the message I got, even at the time, but I was like, no, this can't be going on, was that Lindsay walked me through basically establishing the application and the account on through their resident portal, through their website. I think it was a dummy interface, and so that Lindsay and Tamika, when residents do pay, they're actually paying a dummy website, an IP address. So then, they can collect the money electronically, and then, send the actual rent money to their bosses, to the corporations for whom they work, and then take the rest, or take it all. Maybe it's that they find dummies like me, trusting individuals who have money and who don't have friends or family or anyone in the state of Virginia, and move them into the building. Of course, all the staff know, and then just take the full rent, minus utilities that they pay for the gas and the electric. So, or I even got a message that these thieves, this organized crime ring in the Norfolk, Virginia area, so Portsmouth, Chesapeake, and these neighborhoods with these expensive apartment buildings. Where was I going? I can't remember now. Anyway, it's well organized, and I think I signed up on a dummy site. Oh, I was going to say that they could easily file like a Section 8 voucher or some sort of reduced rent rate for these people, these victims of what would it be, filed under RICO laws? I'm not sure, but it's obviously fraud, theft of some kind. So going back to Cox Cable and the 4-hour time it took my property manager, this thief, and the company that she works for to hook up my internet cable. And at the end, the guy, which, it took 4 hours, And I was getting these downloads. I was like, they're fucking tapping your internet line. They're going to be monitoring your communications. And sure enough, you know, I worked from home, so I had all my tarot cards out and all my books on esoteric knowledge and all that good stuff, as a Hierophant, and so he noticed that, and we started talking about tarot and the fact that his mother also used tarot and was into astrology, and she came through immediately. She's a Sagittarius. Anyway, long story short, he asked for my email address, which the thieves downstairs, the property manager, already had. Um, but, you know, I think, you know, he said, "Oh, I'm going to contact you for services." He never did. And I think that's how they got into my monitoring my email addresses, so that when I did go out and looking for a part-time job, or you know, it was all fucked up. Like I went in for an interview to restore hyper wellness and had a great interview. She even said, "You're overqualified," and I said, "That is really no problem, because you know I have my side business, this business, and at the time I wasn't hurting for money. I just wanted some extra income for padding." And I never received a call back, even after she had explained that. I think this was on a Thursday or Friday that I had the interview. She goes, "Okay, I'm going to contact you, and most likely you'll start training on Monday. You'll actually work from home on your computer for the week, and then come in." And so it was very suspicious. And there were other communications that I was expecting, that I think were being monitored. So, you know, she works with Cox Cable, and also they have these businesses, these property managers in apartment complexes, um, will send you. Their preferred communication is like via text. So that's how they get into your phone and will monitor your communications. Um, it was it was no coincidence that as I was getting downloads about, and especially after I caught them stealing packages from me, material goods, um, then I got more messages about my internet being monitored by them. So I stopped paying. And lo and behold, it was amazing. Like once I caught the property manager and her staff, their stories did not line up. And this property manager had been avoiding me for weeks, literally. Um, once I once they knew I caught on to their crime, and the shit that they were doing to the residents in their building, taking their money, um, and then evicting them, and then taking their property, because many of them, like me, I didn't receive the legal writ, the summons to the court. And I know my fucking law. I was a debater. Uh, I was on a. We should have won first in the state of California, but while I was in high school, I was a defense attorney for the mock trial team, and we ended up taking second place in 1988 in the state of California. I was a debater. Um, I know my shit, and I'm super super smart, but. Nobody could fucking, be smarter than an Aquarius sun. They think they know it all, and they're fucking criminals. So my property manager, once I was onto her, um, she just started a flip, and I stopped all communications via email with her. I canceled my Cox cable, and sure enough, I would walk through the lobby. I'd walk through, or by the office. She would see me. I would make eye contact with her. And by the time I got up to the third floor in my apartment, because I hadn't paid Cox Cable, there would be a fucking text or a call from Cox Cable. And then when I started explaining my story and what I was going through on my old YouTube channel, or maybe it was this channel, but I had deleted everything I had created up to that point. There were so many times where I was producing videos where this bitch would be outside my window of my apartment causing noise, or she would move people in and out of the apartments that were, I only had one apartment on one side of me. Then I had the courtyard on, a side of me, and then hallway around the rest. Above me, she moved in towards the end, somebody who was always fucking super loud. It was just ridiculous. I'd mentioned, smoking in my apartment, and of course, in Virginia, smoking is against the law. Fair enough. Like I said, I was smoking herbal shit. And early on, I was smoking THC here and there, but it wasn't anything heavy. And where was I going? Shit. Oh, there were so many times where I'd walk into my building and down the hall, and I would smell weed. Of course, it's decriminalized here in Norfolk. And I always get my weed from around the corner when I was buying it. And I knew other people were smoking weed, but sure enough, once somebody knocked on my door once and told me that the neighbors were going down to the office and complaining about me. And I'm like, I mean, I didn't say much because I knew immediately that something was off with this person. So I just listened more than I asked questions. But I did ask why, because I hadn't had one conversation with my neighbors. The first set of neighbors on the one side of me, two females. The only time we had any contact was soon after I moved in. It was past 10 o'clock. I was playing my music a little bit loud, and all she could do was do that on the door. She didn't have enough fucking whatever to come and knock on my front door and say, hey, can you turn that down? I would have easily done that. And as soon as I heard the knocking on the wall, I did turn it down. Well, I don't know, a month later, I was playing my music, and she then came to my front door, didn't say hello or introduce herself, just stood there, her overweight self, with this, kind of scowl on her face. And that was it. She didn't really say much. I was like, oh, hey, I'm assuming you're here for the music. I'll turn it down. No thanks, or anything that I would say, like, I don't mean to be an asshole or anything like that, but I'm trying to get some sleep, or I'm trying to work or something like that. Anyway, just a lot of fishy activity. So this guy comes over, knocks on my door, and is giving me the heads up, he said. I think she sent him just to get information out of me of whether or not I actually do smoke in the apartment. And by that time, I hadn't, and I wasn't. But as soon as she found out that I was a pot smoker, there were tons of these notices that she would leave on every door on my floor, reminding about no smoking in the apartments. And meanwhile, as I explained, I smelled pot in that building all the fucking time, and they were coming from my neighbors. One of whom was this guy, and he even mentioned that. So he was giving me a heads up because maybe he had been a target for neighbors who didn't like the smell of weed or whatever. It's just a ridiculous operation. And these organized crime groups, these property managers in the Norfolk area, this is what they do to manipulate their tenants into a really tight situation where, you know, if and when we do call the police or complain, we're really not going to be believed. Or in my case, once I found out that she was stealing, she stole something from me, and then I figured out that she was causing all this drama with my neighbors, and also trying to interrupt my business being formed, all the while defaming my character and harassing me with these letters of drug use and all this other shit. Um, um, I stopped paying rent, knowing that the process of eviction would involve, these are the steps. This is know your law. Um, of course, they'll ask for rent. The property managers, this business that you rent from, collective, and then what happens next is they have to go to the court. They have to get a writ of eviction, which creates a summons both to them, the property manager, the business, your the people that you're have a lease with, the company that you rent from, and then they must serve a writ to you in person. Well, being an inside apartment with hallways, and as I mentioned at the top of this reading, the amount of fucking writs that I would see hanging off the doorknobs um, of my neighbors, and all this activity with U-Hauls and people moving in and out like crazy. I put together that it's how they force people out. They put them in vulnerable situations where they really can't defend themselves, um, and then they end up selling their belongings that they can't get out in time, which happened to me because I never received the summons to go to court, and that was a whole reason that I stopped paying rent. And by that time, I'd been harassed so much, and my business and getting it up and running off the ground had been stalled and waylaid so much by her interruptions, moving noisy neighbors in and out. And like so often when I would start a video like this, like I would hear things, there'd be people outside my window in the courtyard having lunch because it was like right by the barbecuer, and they would be loud, or my neighbor upstairs would act up. It was just really crazy, and too much of a coincidence. And if you've been following my channel and watching my readings, I don't believe in coincidence anymore. Coincidence does not exist, folks. It's all, speaking of interruptions, um, it just doesn't exist. And this was all this to say, and I put this together because, like, once I stopped paying my Cox cable, which I suspected as being, my interline, my email was being tapped, my IP address, they probably got into my phone and computer, just to keep tabs on people because it's a delicate operation. They didn't know I'm a fucking high priest and that I'm a psychic, and that was my business. And once they found out, I remember it was when I came to view the apartment, because I was sort of desperate in that I got accepted into school, and I just wanted, and I'd been on the road for a few months, and I just wanted to get into a nice place where I could really focus on myself and my learning and building my business. So I took it sight unseen. Of course, I took a virtual tour because we were still in the latter stages of mandates for masks and whatnot due to COVID. So I took it sight unseen, and a couple of days later, I show up to look at the apartment. And this was a couple of days before it was ready to even be moved in. But Lindsay took me around the apartment building, and there was a gym in there. It was a sweet setup. They had a saltwater pool, not a big one, but it's perfect for, especially if you're a high priest or a psychic. I mean, saltwater pools are just great for health and cleansing the aura each time. Um, I told her that I read tarot cards and that I was starting a business. And literally, I could see the energy just drain like from her face, um, uh, uh, through her eyes and in her aura, even though she was wearing a mask. I felt like immediate envy and worry and fear, because when these property managers and these businesses who are fucking stealing from their tenants and then working really hard to defame their character and tap into their accounts and their communications to keep tabs on them, harass them through like defaming your character with your neighbors. So there were so many times I would get into the fucking elevator, and these people that I had never met in my fucking life, or that was the first time I was seeing them in the building. That was another thing about living in that building. It was like eerily quiet most of the time. Um, these people would give me the dirtiest looks. I'm like, are they fucking racist? I'm not, I mean, I'm melanated, but only like 33%. It was just really fucking bizarre. So I was getting downloads that this property manager at Attain downtown is running an illegal operation. Lindsay no longer works there, um, but Sophie, poor Sophie, who I think it got herself into a situation where this Aquarius Sun property manager is just a biatch, and she's fucking evil and dark, and power hungry AF. So, all right, Spirit, what else? There's also maybe a Leo involved in this situation. Maybe this Aquarius is my apartment manager, Tamika, maybe associated with a Leo as well. But Aquarius and Leo are opposites, opposite signs. So what I get from this message for you, collective, is um, yeah, in the Norfolk area, Hampton Roads, downtown, all these luxury apartments, a few of them, if not many of them, have shisty operations of organized crime, stealing from their tenants, getting them evicted, trumped up on false charges, or when they do run out of money because they're being scammed and taken advantage of, or when they stop paying on purpose in the hopes to fucking go before a court, or at least have the Norfolk Sheriff's Office, seriously consider their claims that this property manager, in my case, was fucking stealing my mail and stealing things from me, like this package. Yeah, exactly. Moon, emotions. This is what's hidden. And guess what? The moon in Aquarius, what card that correlates to in the tarot? That's a fucking Seven of Swords. Hello, further confirmation. You people who live in this area in Virginia, in Norfolk, who are um, are being harassed or have issues with your property manager or the leasing office, I'm telling you, the cards are telling you there's probably some fucking crime going on. So file the police reports if you have to. File reports with the Better Business Bureau. And like I said, there was another building in the Hampton Roads area that I saw on TikTok. Another person detailing a situation where, once you stop paying, or let's say you pay electronically through their resident portal. And let's say, the card doesn't go through, or maybe let's just say you don't have the fucking rent to pay that month, no fucking big deal, right? They'll tag on a late fee, and then you have to bring them a money order or a certified check. Well, in this case, this TikToker was explaining her neighbor went through that whole process and then paid them the money order or the certified check, and still evicted her, and then claimed that they never received it. I'm telling you, these fucking property managers, it's an organized crime racket. I'm not saying every building in the Norfolk area, but obviously mine and the one I can't remember the name of it. It was down near the Wisconsin and the Naval Museum. Anyway, yeah, it's Virgo, the perfectionist, analytical, planning, perfection, hard work, helpful, detail-oriented, reliable, confident, skeptical, overly critical, ruler of the sixth house. This is the mind-body connection. And I'm telling you, I crossed my T's and dotted my I's for 12 months, paying rent on time. Okay, maybe there was I'd be late like 3 days. But I would get it in before the fifth day. Come to find out that the whole fifth day law may not apply here in Virginia, but where I came from, it did. And anyway, I never got any fucking complaint. Oh, that's another thing too. All the while, I never once had a conversation with this bitch. She never had the nerve, even though I'd gone to the office and said, hey, I want to speak to the property manager. When is she in? I asked this of Sophie a couple times. And there was always an excuse. And then finally 2 weeks after a couple conversations with Sophie, where I got enough information out of Sophie. And then when I finally got some time with Tamika to question her on this package that was left in her charge, that her office staff confirmed left the office and was never received by the company it was going back to, never picked up by FedEx. That's when I knew that their stories didn't match up, and that I had enough suspicion at this point and experience with her that she's a thief. And even her staff, like the cleaning staff and whatnot, Taurus, the connoisseur. It's interesting that I have two signs out here. This is about work, and I'm a quad Taurus, and I have Uranus, which is the ruler of the 11th house, this Aquarius sun, my property manager. Uranus rules the sign of Aquarius, but I have the planet Uranus in my 6th house, and Virgo rules the 6th house. So there's a message here that this was divine timing. This is karma playing out. This is the universe. This is Gaia clearing away these fucking thieves from our lives, and noting that they're working really hard at getting our money and stealing it from us. And they do it very craftily. It's very sneaky. They're very devoted to the practice here with this asteroid, sacred sexuality, fertility, kundalini energy, dedication. Oh, okay, I know what this message is. This bitch does magic too. Because when I let her subordinate, before I even moved in, know that I read tarot and this and that, you better believe this Aquarius sun, my property manager, was just obsessed with me and had it in for me from the beginning. Salivating each time, you know, her fix-it man would report back what he saw in my apartment, just being loaded with fucking tarot cards and my altar and all that. She, you know, and this is very true of Aquarius suns. They want to be the people that they believe they are, because they think they know everything. If there's anyone who comes in who is modeling or, you know, exuding energy that is loving, is nurturing, is very Aquarius. My North Node is in Aquarius, and doing all this work. Oh yeah, there's an investigator. I am the investigator. Guess what? Gemini rules my second house. And you know what? You want to know what else? My part of fortune is in my second house in Gemini. This is also, I think, because I filed on the FBI website. I gave them her name, I gave them her subordinate's name, and I gave them a heads up on how I believe that they are scamming people electronically, tapping their phones or monitoring their phones, and how Cox Cable and some of these businesses, these organized crime rings who are working through apartment buildings in the Norfolk area, Hampton Roads, Tidewater, Ghent. It's all a big operation that I believe is being investigated. So, the Aquarius narcissist, curious, social, knowledgeable, analytical, intellectual, quick-witted, anxious, outgoing, inquisitive, easily bored, and ruler of the third house. Bottom of the deck, South Node. This is another message I got about this particular Aquarius and other Aquariuses who've come after me in very similar ways. The Aquarius male who was basically running a trap house in Alaska, the Arctic Fox Inn in Anchorage, Alaska, is one. And before that, I lived with a couple. Her name was Marta, and I lived with Marta and Mike for like 6 years, and I was paying them rent. And about 4 years into paying half the rent of this house, when I was only renting like the upstairs portion of this shitty yet charming house, while, you know, they worked, they were a couple, I was paying half of the rent. It was fucking ridiculous. I believe these are all karmic past life relationships who were meant, who followed me from a past life, because this is all South Node energy. Well, you know, the solar system, the divine, is not putting up with this anymore. I really firmly believe that y'all have been investigated. It's going to take some time yet, because it is so well organized, or has been well organized for years now. This is for you, collective. I'm out of that situation, and the one of the downloads I got about the whole situation is, my guides wanted me to get the fuck out of there, because they were energy harvesting, you know, like all the defamation of character and setting your neighbors up against you and defaming your character with police, you know, maybe even filing reports with the police. Or I think a lot of these property managers have relationships with police and the sheriff's office, because it's the sheriff's office who serves the notices. And when I get a chance, when all this blows up, and it will, collective, we just got to speak up, file the police reports. There will be a class action lawsuit against the fucking city of Norfolk, and specifically the sheriff's office, because they don't properly serve by law. they should fucking hand you the summons from the court, summoning you to court so you can go and you can actually speak your truth and what you've experienced with these fuckers before a judge. So it gets on the record. That never happened to me, but because it was an inside apartment complex. And if it was served, and I did confirm down at the courthouse that it was served, they fucking snatched it from my door. I was inside the apartment when I got the final eviction notice from the sheriff's office, giving me, 5 days in Virginia? I received it on a Friday, and I was to be out on Wednesday. The writ or the eviction notice said the sheriff's office will show up on Wednesday at 11 to change the locks, get all your shit out of there by then, and you'll be evicted. Well, because I hadn't received the summons to go to court, I thought this was bullshit. Because that final eviction notice, it wasn't even taped to my door. It didn't have a rubber band affixed to the envelope. The envelope was open. It looked like it was fucking scribbled on. I thought, oh, this is a ploy. This is fake. This is coming from the property manager's office. And there was probably never a writ filed with the judge. Well, I was wrong. It was filed with the judge. I never received it because they probably fucking stole it from my door. Oh, and by the way, when that final eviction notice was put on my door, I was in fucking side. The law says that it should be handed to you by the fucking sheriff's office, right? Nobody fucking knocked. And like I said, it was just balancing on my door handle with the it wasn't even sealed or anything. It's such a shitty operation. Oh, and another part of the law is that I should have received in my mailbox a confirmation, like a backup letter saying that this notice was served. I never received that. So the sheriff's office in Norfolk will be sued, and because I think they're working with them. They're certainly believing all these businesses who are saying that their tenants are prostitutes or druggies or anything to bolster their side of the situation. So, our claims of being harassed, our claims of having our character defamed, or our claims of, having paid rent and still being evicted wouldn't be believed because there'd be no tangible proof. I mean, when you're late on your rent and you miss the deadline to pay electronically, which all these fucking buildings require, right? Or prefer, this is how they skim. They scam us, get into our accounts, or like I said, they'll take the electronic payment, but then send off the actual amount of the rent to their boss, to the company they work for, and keep the rest, having manufactured, or worked through a criminal IP address with certain tenants, if you're following me. I don't know. I lost my thought of where I was going, but it's all fucking karmic. It's karmic bullshit. Okay, one last card. This is longer than I expected. 54 on the clock right now. So I just wanted to share my story and the heads up of you who, you know what, and no matter where you live, no matter where you're watching this from, if you suspect shit like this, or you've been the victim of shady dealings with your property manager, the fucking housing market is going to fall soon. All these companies know it. The rental market, it's ridiculous. The rent's too damn high. Who said that? And it's true because it's linked to fucking organized crime, yo. One final card. Jupiter, abundance, growth, expansion, Sagittarius and Pisces. Yeah, Jupiter, wait, fuck. Jupiter is about to go into Pisces or has been in Pisces? Let's check it out. Jupiter is luck, but it's also the planet of expansion. Whatever sign it's in, whatever house it's if it's conjunct with other planets in your chart, it fucking magnifies that. Jupiter is in Aries, so the next house that it's going to is the 12th house. So yeah, I'm right. Jupiter is going into Pisces, and this card confirms your fucking karmic bullshit, your thieving, you criminals are it's going to be exposed. And all this prosperity and growth and abundance that you have been grifting from your tenants is going to be exposed. 12th house, it's the house of endings. It's also the house of Pisces. And we've been in the age of Pisces. We're leaving the age of Pisces because it's dark. It's mutable water energy. It's about organized crime. It's about the dark web. It's about prostitution and human trafficking and sex trafficking. Okay. One last comment. When I did call the FBI to complain about my situation in the building, I didn't quite explain it accurately. I almost felt like, with all the fucking tracking of my activity, that I was being human trafficked. And maybe it's because my former property manager, landlord, also an Aquarius sun, was actually attempting, because he ran a fucking trap house. I guess technically I would have been human trafficked. He was making me out to be a prostitute, and it was insane. So I wasn't quite believed, I think, when I first called the FBI. Or somehow, I know this sounds crazy, but a lot of the shit that went down in the age of Pisces and is going down now, that will be illuminated to the general public, all these principalities and organized crime and dark web activity, all this human trafficking that we're learning about, that people have endured, or being finally saved from. This shit's real, people. And all of it will be illuminated in 2023 to a large degree. And City of Norfolk and these businesses who have been linked to organized crime and running scams on their tenants and getting them evicted and then selling all their belongings for profit, defaming their character, they will be exposed, and they will be sued and or sent to prison. All right, I'm going to end the reading here and wish you all a good night. Support, if not, listen to claims of your neighbors or your family or friends who might be going through situations as I have. Energetically, I'm much more open and free to talk about this now because I wasn't literally living in the building in which I was surrounded by all of this psychic energy and air, Aquarius energy that is very manipulative, because air energy is the element of the heart chakra. These people who believe that they know everything, that they're smarter than everyone, and they are great I was going to say humanitarianists. I meant to say they're good communicators, and they're really adept at manipulating electronic data, right? What I meant to say is they put on a good front of being a humanitarian, of being philanthropists, of being, you know, a friend to all and of the higher mind. It's all bullshit. They're fucking criminals. All right, we'll end it here. I wish you all the best of luck and namaste.